So good morning, everyone. Again, thank you for coming and joining this morning. And as many of you are aware from the announcement and everything, we have Ishitashi sitting. Will be Tashi Tundu sitting. Sorry. We'll be teaching for next 5-6 months, and even though it's Geshe-la's second visit to this country, I think Geshe-la came for visiting friends and families, but so this would be more kind of teachings for one place for longer durations, even though Geshe-la has taught at some places. And of course, Geshe-la taught at Kopanna for many, many years. So I hope you will continue to support Geshe-la and make him comfortable. And hopefully some can help him to take around, and because he's new to New Mexico and the Sangha here, so it will take a little time for. So yeah, so yeah, I will start as as usual. So make yourself comfortable, relaxed. And feel the weight of your body on cushion, chair. And watch and observe your breath mindfully, and trying to keep your awareness as you breathe in and out for a few moments. And then we can try to generate good motivation, intention for being here. For example, we can think, unless our mind is transformed and trained and transformed it, we can never find true peace and happiness from outside. True peace and happiness can be only achieved from within your mind by training and transforming your mind. And in order to train and transform our mind, we need to contemplate meditate practice. And we need to learn, studies, and be reminded of those practices again and again. And that is why we have come here together. And may I ask you coming together to listen and to engage in discussion, reflection, contemplations. May all this become cause and condition to obtain fully awakened or fully enlightened state. So we can fulfill the highest purpose of others and oneself. Okay, so we can do that.
So we'll recite the refuge and bodhicitta verses once in English, twice in Tibetan. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all.
Ye Chedan Soki Chonam La Chanchu Paduda Dagi Cheshe Gibe Dola Pensi
Sangye Trupar Sho
Sangye Chedan Soki Chonam
Chanchu Bardu Dagi Kapsuchi Dagi Choshe Gibe Sonam Hi Drola Pense Sangye Trupar Sho.
Ye Dujan Yizone, Odam Jabon Beje, Tambishune, Nijekbe, Odam de La Cha Tsa Lo. So today's morning's topic of the discussions is something that many of you have studied over years. Probably you have received teachings, read it so many times, and probably many of you have, tried to practice those. And those, again, the lojong or mind training are very powerful, as we can see. But it's not so easy to practice. That's one thing. At least for me. I don't know for some of you, you might find it easy, but at least for me, I find some of those practice in terms of really integrating and applying. But if we can apply, integrate, definitely it will make huge difference in your life. It will make huge difference in your interactions with others. And that could make it less conflict, better communications, hopefully, and so, it helps on that level, and definitely, in developing our spiritual path, definitely. So, the 8 verses of mind training by Geshe Langtang, and it's one of the earliest Lojong practice written by any of the masters. It is said before that, a lot of time it was passed orally, and it wasn't kind of written, Most time it was taught and passed through all that orally. So anyway, as I mentioned, even though, I'm not a good practitioner of this topic, but I did receive many teachings, oral transmissions, teachings from many teachers, masters, who embodied those teachings. Someone like His Own Dalai Lama, Lama Sopa Rinpoche, and many other teachers. They were not just teaching, but they really embodied those teachings, their practice, So from that point of view, in terms of the lineage, it comes from, some of the real true practitioners of those teachings. And of course, and yeah, we also got this teaching and oral transmission by Lama Sopa Rinpoche, of course, at different places over the times. But also when the Tibetan Geshe Langtang's own place, monastery, he gave that. So that was quite special to be in the same place, same monastery, that the author of that. So I feel like there is some blessing from that. So that is maybe a little bit. And the author himself, Islam Ritamba, is not something like very kind of philosophical something, or something that you write thesis, or something that good knowledge about that. But it is something he practiced every day, his life. And he put that into the words, what he practiced. So it's very different from someone, trying to write some thesis or something on certain topic, subject that you have studied and you have good knowledge about that. Doesn't necessarily mean you really practice it, It's just that you have good knowledge about that, And that could be any subjects, There are a lot of scholars or who have really good grasp of the subjects what to study, but doesn't necessarily mean they really practice it, But in these cases, Geshe Langtang, that this was his main practice, These were the main practice of the Kapamba masters, and definitely Geshe Langtang. And so, yeah. So it is coming from the experience, not just a word, dry words. So then if you go, normally like in these 8 verses, like first 7 verses is related with the method, and the last verses is related with the wisdom. So it is a very short text, but it contains the both whole Buddha's teaching in a way, both method and wisdom. And as I often say, those are 2 wings that as Chandrakirti, the great Indian master Chandrakirti used that metaphor, like the 2 wings of the bird to fly over the oceans to the shore. Same way, for us to fly over the ocean of samsara to the shore of fully awake, Buddhahood, then we need the 2 wisdom. 2 wings, the wing of wisdom and compassion. So it does cover both of that. And the first 6, among the 7 verses, the first 6 are, related with the method on different situations. By bringing the practice of the method, dealing with the different difficult situations, or cultivating the compassion and increasing that. And the 7th one is kind of a summary of the previous 6 verse, and the last one is related with the wisdom. So if we go to the verse number first, there is 2 I think there are many translations. So at the moment, I think maybe I might use the FMD versions translated by Lama Soka Rinpoche himself. Okay. So in the first verse, it says, determined to obtain the greatest possible benefit from all sentient beings. The greatest possible benefit that is of, all the spiritual realization, and all the, mental peace and happiness that one can achieve high on the path as you progress higher and higher on the path, the 5 path and bhumis, as you progress, your level of the mental peace, happiness, increases or more profound. And then finally, the ultimate happiness of fully enlightenment, that is the greatest possible benefit that we can achieve or that we can obtain by relying on sentient beings or through the contribution of sentient beings, through the kindness of sentient beings. So that's why it says, possible benefit from all sentient beings. Therefore, who are more precious than wish-fulfilling jewels. Therefore, he is saying, therefore, those sentient beings are more precious than wish-fulfilling jewels. Because wish-fulfilling jewel, if you make wishes, it can. The story is that if you make a wishes, then it can fulfill all your immediate kind of needs, comfort of this life, but more than that, one cannot achieve that. But by relying on sentient beings through the kindness, depending on sentient beings, not only you can achieve or obtain, comfort of this life, physical comfort, happiness of this life, as well as the happiness of future life, as well as all the spiritual realizations and happiness on those spiritual path, and finally the ultimate happiness of fully enlightenment. And so therefore, from that perspective, then sentient beings are even more precious than wish-fulfilling jewels. Imagine if you found a wish-fulfilling jewel, okay? If you find something like wish-fulfilling jewel, if you make wishes where all your temporary wishes of this life can be accomplished, how precious you will hold that object. How dear you hold to that, you know. And so here, Yilang Thamba is saying that each sentient being is even more precious than that wish-fulfilling jewels. Each of those sentient beings is even more precious than that wish-fulfilling jewels. Therefore, he's saying we should regard each and every sentient being very dear, very precious to our heart, and treat them that way. With that understanding, then, I shall hold them most dear at all times, and therefore, practicing to hold, each and every sentient being most dear, most close, most precious all the time, not just one time. Of course, sometimes we hold someone very precious and dear to us only certain time. When they are nice to you, then we hold them very dear. Oh, he's my dear, He's my close friends. He's my close families. He's my close classmate or whatever, because they are nice to you, because they are good to you, because they are nice to you. But the moment you feel like they are not nice to you, the moment you feel they are not good to you, you don't feel any more dear. You don't feel any more close. Then you say, he or she is not close to me anymore. He or she is not dear to me anymore. So here, Ishilangi Thamba is advising to keep that feeling of dearness or closeness, preciousness all the time, day and night. Of course, it will require a lot of practice, a lot of effort, time, So through that understanding, then we try to develop, so by contemplating on the kindness of other sentient beings, directly, indirectly, by contemplating on how every comfort we experience in our life comes through others, by depending on others, that we have a nice place here now, when it's so windy and cold outside, very cozy, we have the heater and all of that, because so many people have to create those things, and now we are able to get the benefit from that, So every day, what we eat, everything we eat, the place we stay, the robe, clothes we wear, everything comes through. I don't make my robe myself. I don't grow food myself. I didn't build the house myself. So without others' support and help, I wouldn't have all these things. I would be just like being in the old time when you are in nature. When it's cold, you have to deal with that. It's too hot, you have to deal with that. But we have much more protection from all this extreme heat, hot, all different things. And because we are able to have all this comfort because of others. Even on mental level, emotional level, whatever sense of little peace you have, whatever feeling of little mental satisfactions, joy, peace, also come through others. Because we learn those techniques, practice, meditations, how to calm our mind, how to become more peaceful, how to be more content. And so again, we learn from others, directly, indirectly. From teachers, from Sangha members, from the books, internet, whatever. Even books, internet were created by others. So again, we get benefit from that. And so even our, not only physical comfort, but even our mental peace, happiness in this life come through that. Others' contributions, others' kindness. And if you go back, future, and then, even cultivating true love, true compassion, it has come through others. If there's no object of true love, compassion, then the true love and compassion cannot be developed because there's no object for that. Even cultivating that, it depends on the objects, the others. Not only that, the technique we learn, the meditation we learn, how to do that comes through others because we learn from others. So when we reflect that, then as in some teachings, as some master says, while on the basis, everything we enjoy, all the happiness comes through others. Even on the path, all the spiritual realizations that we achieve and happiness, they also come through others. And the final result, the fully enlightenment, also come through others. And so through that, when we reflect, contemplate, when we feel the kindness of others, when you feel through such meditation, contemplation, if you can feel the kindness of others, then you will feel more closer to them, or they're close. You will feel you are closer to them being closer to you. You can feel they are precious to you. You will feel they are dear to you. And when you feel precious and dear, close, you have less negative feelings, negative thoughts toward them. You have less negative feeling, less negative thoughts towards them. You don't get easily disturbed by small things. And also it helps us to develop true love and compassion. It opens up. Your mind becomes open and spacious to feel love and compassion because it's easy to feel compassion. It's easy to feel loving kindness to someone you feel very dear to you, very close to you. Someone you feel they are very kind to you is easy. When you don't feel someone being kind to you, when you don't feel someone is close to you, dear to you, it's much more harder to feel compassion and love. And so through this training, such training meditations, then it helps us to cultivate, develop, increase, and improve loving kindness, compassion, the method, and bodhicitta mind. So in order to have such loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta mind, for those who have not cultivated, to cultivate, those who have already cultivated, to increase and improve more, then we have to meditate, contemplate more and more on the kindness of others. And we meditate on kindness of others, to feel kindness of others by contemplating how every good things that we experience are contribution from others, coming through others. So, okay, so that is maybe and in verse number 2, when in company of others, I shall always consider myself lord of all, and from the depth of my heart hold others dear and supreme. Again, it's not. So when we are in company of others, with anyone, anywhere, with someone we might consider more, our colleague, or less or more, with whomever you are, training the mind to, consider oneself as Lord in them, and, from the depth of your heart, seeing the others more supreme and the dear. It's not easy. Even just to see equal is not easy. A lot of time we feel we are better than others. We feel we are more superior or better than others. Whether we use the word superior or not, but sometimes we feel, I know better than him or her. That is sense of superiority, So even feeling, equal is not so easy. And then to be able to actually hold someone as superior, or regard them as superior to yourself and yourself less than them, is not easy. It's not easy for us now because our self-centeredness, self-importance is so strong. The self-centeredness, our ego is so strong. But if we are less ego, then it will be more easier to regard someone as more superior and one as more less, And one of the things that we have conflict in this world on individual level to, from society to society, group to group, country to countries, a lot of time is because of the attitude that we are better than you, I know better than you. You should listen to me, And you are not ready to hear others' point of view because in your mind you feel you know better than them. Your view is better. Your idea is better. You know better than them. And therefore, even someone has better view, better idea, sometimes we are unable to listen. We are unable to hear. We are unable to listen and we are unable to hear because your mind is blocked. Your mind is blocked by that kind of attitude because you're already in your mind, you already think you are better than them, or your view is better than them, your idea is better than them. So with that attitude, your mind is already closed. And then, and that is the conflict where, where there is no willing to listen to each other's. Where the other side, for the other's opinion or ideas or view, is not worthwhile or not good enough. Yours better. And the other feel that way. And so then that is where the conflict comes, you know. And so when you are able to, if we can practice, if we can, as I said, it's not easy, but if we can really practice, hold yourself as lords, and if you can offer the others as the more supreme, then, you know, you wouldn't, from your side, you wouldn't have so much problem and conflict, you know. You wouldn't have so much bad feelings towards others. A lot of bad feelings comes because we feel like we are not treated well, we are not treated respectfully, and then we feel hurt, you know, because you feel that other person didn't treat you well, they didn't treat you respectfully, and because of our ego, we feel like I must be treated a certain way, I must be respected in a certain way, you know. And when you feel that is not done, then you feel offended, you know, you feel hurt. And that gives rise to a lot of negative feelings, bad feelings. And that negative feeling and bad feeling create a conflict. In some of the Katamba masters' advice, teachings, or how they practice is you know, they say, you know, they practice that is the way they look, you know, they say there's nothing lower than me except in the water that go underground. Everyone is above me. That is how they train their mind to see. So this is what the Kadamba here teaching says, and that's what they try to practice. They say, you know, they always train their mind that there's no one lower than me. Everyone's above me. Everyone's supreme than me. The only thing that is lower than me or under me is the water that runs under the ground. If you can really train your mind and you are able to do it, I think we wouldn't have so much of problem, conflict will be solved. So much of conflict will be solved. You know, in a sense that we wouldn't have bad feeling to each other. You know. A lot of time, you know, we feel due to whatever, you know, due to your educations, due to your upbringing, due to the society, due to, you know, your status, due to economic whatever, then we feel like we are more superior than others, or some others who doesn't have same. And then when those others we feel they are not equal or superior than us, when they treat us in a certain way, we get easily offended. You know, easily offended, easily hurt. And then that creates bad feelings. And that manifests in our interactions, you know. And then that creates some level of conflict. There is a story of, you know, there is a story. His Holiness also shared, and also it is in the text, you know. There's one great master, you know, from other lineage. Zabadu Rinpoche, who is the author of the Word of My Perfect Teachers, and he's really highly regarded master, not just in terms of what he have written, many great, but in terms of his practice, his true, Lojong practitioners, and he has many disciples, and so forth. One day, he disappeared from the monasteries, He disappeared from the monasteries, And then the monks are looking for him, searching for him, looking for him. And they went into the village, towards village, and they saw one house with one elderly lady, They say, "Did you see our teacher, our masters, passing through here or somewhere here?" And the lady says, "I didn't see any master or any teacher passing, but there was one ordinary monk in my house who came." And because in Tibet, all time, not only Tibet, I think most of the Himalayan regions, maybe it used to be here too, In the winter, you have to go outside to pee, is too cold. So they keep the container, and then morning they throw out, So the elderly lady asked this great master to carry out her piece outside. And he did that without any hesitation, without saying he was a great master or that, or without showing any expect. Not only not saying, and he didn't show any expect and didn't feel hurt. Do you get it? Didn't feel like hurt that for him to do such things. Because when you practice that, when you practice yourself laws and offer the supreme to others, even someone asks you to do something, you don't feel that you are treated disrespectfully, in negative way, and you don't feel negative feelings. And so there are so many examples of like that, in Kadamba masters. Same with Dom Jampa, there are many stories about Dom Jampa as well. So, yeah, so if we can practice that, then definitely the differences it could make. And third one, vigilant, the moment a delusion appears in my mind, endangering myself and others, I shall confront and avoid it without delay. So third is, being mindful and vigilant all the time, especially watching your thoughts, your mind, as Adisha also mentioned, in his Bulls of a Garland, We try to practice being vigilant and mindful, all your three doors, body, speech, and mind, especially the mind, because mind is the one that makes us to say things or do things. That is the chief among those. So, being very mindful and vigilant all the time, and whenever any negative feelings, thoughts arises, recognize that, be aware of that, and not to give continuity to that negative feeling or thoughts. Try to stop there. Whatever practice, meditations technique that you have, try to apply that. There are many different meditation, different practices regarding how to not give fuel to that negative feeling thoughts, emotions, and how to let it go soon and not to hold on that, So different practices, whatever you try to do that without any delay, because the more space, more duration time you give for those negative thoughts, the more it consumes you, the more it destroys you. If I allow anger to be in my state for 1 minute, it consumes me 1 minute. If I allow it to be 1 hour, it will consume me 1 hour. If I allow me to be there for 1 day, it consumes you 1 day, weeks, months, years. It destroys you, your peace, your happiness. And so therefore, without giving, without delaying, saying, oh, I can take care of this tomorrow, next week, next month. Instead, you try to apply whatever antidote or meditation practice that you are familiar with, that you know, different analytical meditations, mindfulness meditations, whatever method, you try to apply that immediately. But to be applied that, first you have to recognize that. A lot of time we are one of those negative emotions already arises, we are not even aware of that. You are already upset and angry. You are not even aware you are upset and angry. Maybe after 2 hours, maybe you might be aware. Or maybe sometime, maybe after a few days, oh, I was upset and angry last week. And so, the sooner you are able to be aware, the better it is. And in order to be aware immediately, you need to have a strong practice of mindfulness vigilance, trying to apply that all the time. And it is mentioned, if when you have very strong practice of mindfulness and vigilance, you can be even aware even before those negative emotion arises, because there are certain causes and conditions that give rise to those negative emotions. And you are being aware when those causes and conditions are coming together, that can give rise to the delusions. So then you can stop even in there without allowing the cause and condition to come together. It's like the fire has not started, but you can see there's some condition that could create fire. You get it? The wind is there. Maybe there is the candles. So that if you don't protect it now, put suddenly that it will create a fire. So even before fire, you can stop from fire happening by taking all these cautious. Same way, even before delusion arises, there are certain cause and conditions that's coming together. If you are aware at that time, you can stop there, and then even delusion even doesn't even have to arise. And so for that you need a very strong, vigilant mindfulness practice. So that is where, and that is one of the, again, very strong practice of Kadamba masters. It is said, some of the Kadamba masters, they used to have 2 sets of stones. They collect one white and one black. Whenever they have negative thoughts, they put the black one. Whenever they have the positive thought, they put that one. That's how they used to do. And it is mentioned that at the very beginning, they see mostly black, hardly any white, 1 or 2, very little. But they train every day like that, day by day, week by week, month by month, year by. And slowly, they begin to see more and more white stone, less and black stone. And slowly kind of equal. And slowly, more white, less black. So that is true training, because they constantly watch their mind, constantly watching their mind. And I think share, stories of Geshe Gunjans, many times. Kadamba Master Geshe Gunjans, how, there is a story one time, he was, I think, a retreat or place, and then someone supporting him, sponsor. And then he got a message that the sponsor wanted to visit him, And so he wanted to impress the sponsor, because the sponsor is supporting him, and he didn't want to lose it, so he can have the continuous support. So he wanted to impress. So the day he heard that he was coming, he tried to set up offerings much better, clean up, to do a little bit more than normally to impress. And then he sit down and check his motivations, his mind. And he realized the motivation was not right. His worldly concern, worldly motivations, it was not coming from pure Dharma practice. The motivation was not coming from pure Dharma practice. It was more to impress the sponsor so that he can. And immediately he got up and got a dust, and he threw on all the very nice, good arrangement he made it. He threw all the dirt there, mess up everything, mess the whole thing, everything, and tell his mind, be quiet and to mind. So that's another, many stories like that. He and that Geshe Begunje, he said in one of his, he said, I have no other things to do than guard my mind. And that guarding your mind is through mindfulness and vigilance. How do you guard your mind? How do you guard your mind? Is by being very watchful, mindful, and vigilant all the time. And he said that is the practice. He said that is the only. He said he used examples. Yeah, by holding the two spears, like two spears at the door of my mind, I will always guard. That is all. And the spears, when he said two spears, that is a mindfulness and vigilance. With vigilance, just as a guard will protect the palace or whatever house with that spear, not allowing anyone to go inside, to destroy. Same way he said, with the two spear of mindfulness and vigilance, he will always guard his mind at the door. When the negative emotions become more active, he will be more alert. When they are less active, he will relax a little bit. And see that is so similar this practice. Yeah. So, and then verse number 4. Whenever I see beings who are wicked in nature and overwhelmed by the violent negative action and suffering, I shall hold such rare ones dear as if I found a precious treasures. So, whenever we see beings who are wicked in nature, because from their previous karma, because of, their upbringings, because of environment they grow up, So due to many conditions, some of the conditions come from past. Some of conditions come from this lifetime. With what kind of they grew up, in what kind of environment they grew up, how they were treated, and surroundings. So that can affect their nature, how they, And as well as sometimes the conditions definitely come also from past, So due to whatever condition, past, present, whatever different conditions, due to certain conditions, then, their natures, some might be, very kind of, too stingy, too greedy, too stingy, some of time might be too jealousy, they cannot withstand happiness, joy, or good of others, that, and some then, different, and some overwhelmed by the violent activity, becoming very violent, aggressive, physically, verbally, mentally, or emotionally, or all of them, So when we see such beings, it's not easy not to get disturbed at the moment, When we see such beings, our mind get disturbed. Our mind get disturbed, and negative thoughts start coming up about such persons, So when your mind is disturbed, when you see such beings, you suffer just by being your mind being disturbed. You lose your peace. Before you are feeling calm, peaceful, and now you see that person, your mind is disturbed, agitated, and now calmness, peaceful that you had before is no more there. And not only you lose your calmness and peacefulness, then, we cannot withstand that. And sometimes we feel like we have to say something. Sometimes we feel like we have to take certain actions. And due to that, again, we create, and then we get in kind of argument or conflict, and in that way, then it kind of creates conflict, problem, and suffering for both, And sometimes, when we see too much sufferings, too much suffering, and again, sometimes when we don't know how to handle it, we become overwhelmed. That then again, we build a wall, and then again, we become very distant. We create a wall. We create a wall, and then you become totally indifferent. Doesn't have any kind of feeling, no matter what happens to others, suffering. That is also not good. That is also, So here is when we see that, I shall hold them rare and dear. We should hear the Kadama master saying, one should train to hold them very rare and dear and precious, as if I had found a precious treasure. If you find a precious treasure, full of gold, silver, diamond, whatever, you will hold it very dear, precious, rare, and you will try to protect it, try to take care of that treasure very well. Same way here, so you try to train to see those beings like that, Because again, from spiritual point of view, for a true spiritual practitioners, if you really want to progress on the path, you need challenges. Challenges help you to grow faster, quickly, if you really apply the teachings, if you are able to apply them. And so therefore, for a true practitioners, they become like a treasure, very rare and precious and dear, because it helped them to practice. You have to practice. In such, if you don't practice, you might become crazy. Being in a certain environment with certain individual. And so you have to practice, and if you practice, then you can make more progress. If you don't practice, you don't make progress. And if someone doesn't push you to practice, sometimes we don't practice. Do you get it? When everything's easy, we take it very granted and easy and then think like, I'm quite okay, I'm doing well, I don't need to practice so much. Until someone push your button. Until someone push your button, sometimes we don't recognize. Sometimes we might think I'm doing quite well. I don't get easily upset because nobody's really creating a cause and condition for you to get upset. And just so therefore sometimes we might feel, and so we might not put so much effort to practice. But then when someone does that, then that is when you know. So therefore you have to practice, and if you practice, then it allows you to make progress. It helps you to progress. And from that point of view, from that perspective, then it's very precious. It's very precious to make a spiritual progress, for that individual. And so therefore, there are certain, it is, I think I've already said before, Lama Adisha, when he went to Tibet, he took a tea boy from India, who was quite annoying. When anyone can see he's annoying. And when they ask, why the Tibetan disciple, they say, we can serve you, master, you don't have to rely on him, And he said, no, I need him. And because of that, it helped him in his practice. For us, we try, if I have to keep away, I will keep away. Because I don't have that practice. If there's a way that I can keep distant or away, probably I will choose that one. But true practitioners, they don't try to keep away or they don't try to distant, but they try to be in such circumstances where beings make them, create such, because that's where it gives them the opportunity to practice all the time. And you have to practice all the time. And it gives them opportunity to practice all the time. And because they give you opportunity to practice all the time, and not only they give you opportunity to practice, but you actually engage in the practice all the time, and therefore you are able to make much progress much quickly. And therefore, for them, then they become very precious and rare. So then next one, out of envy, other mistreat me with abuse, insult, or lack, I shall accept defeat and offer victory to others. So, whatever, it could be out of envy, it could be out of ignorance, it could be out of anger, whatever the motivation might be, out of any of the negative emotions, out of any of the negative feeling when someone mistreats, physical, verbal, emotional abuse, insult, and like, of course, as ordinary beings, you will be very upset, very hurt, very painful, when someone treats you that way, very painful, very hurting, very upset, very upsetting, and then of course when we are very hurt, pain, feel the pain, hurt, upset, our mind started getting negative. Our mind become negative. Started to feel negative towards the being who do that. started to have negative thoughts towards them, Or but here Kadama Master says, instead, we should train and practice to accept the defeat and offer the victory to others. Again, it's a not easy practice, but if we can practice, if we can practice, it can make huge difference. At the moment, the problem is nobody want to take the defeat. Nobody want to take the defeat. Everyone want the victory. Everyone want the victory. Nobody want to take the defeat. Someone try to give the defeat to others and take the victories. The other one want to take the victories and give the defeat to the others. And since I don't want to take the defeat, I want the victory, but because I am being defeated, so I cannot withstand that. Do you get? I cannot withstand that. And therefore your mind gets very disturbed, upset, agitated. And then we react with that agitated mind. We respond or react with that agitated and upset mind. And that doesn't help to anyone. That doesn't help yourself. That doesn't help the situation. That doesn't help the others. No one. But that is because we all want victory and not a defeat. So here it says, totally changing that attitude. Totally changing that attitude. Instead, try to take the defeat on yourself. When someone blame you, take the blame on yourself instead of trying to blame the others. And so forth. Then, if you take the defeat on yourself, then you don't feel like you are mistreated. Then you don't feel like you are insulted, and so forth. And if you don't feel that, you don't feel hurt, you don't feel pain, you don't feel upset. And if you don't feel hurt, pain, upset, then you don't suffer. And you don't suffer. Not only you don't suffer, because you don't have those negative thoughts, feeling, you don't also hurt others. You don't also hurt others. So also they do not suffer from your actions. And so then, nor you suffer, nor others suffer. And so, again, even we can practice just a little bit of that. Even just a little bit of that, that would make big difference, Geshe Langri himself, was like that, when people accuse him of things that he didn't do, not only accuse him, very bad accuse him, he was a monk and great teachers, but they accuse him that him being a father, having a child, which he wasn't. But even in that cases, he didn't try to defend himself. He just took the defeat. People accused him and, but later the truth came, The story was something like that. A mother came and left a child while he was teaching with big audience, the monks, nuns, and others. A mother came and left a child and said, "Take care of your child." And she just left. Everyone, they were surprised, shocked, and they thought that was his child. And he didn't say anything about that. He didn't say, he just took care of the child. and he didn't defend or he didn't say any bad things. And then, of course, people started to, gossip, talk, then bad here and there, oh, Geshe Langten Thamba was a child, he's not a monk, this and that. And it is said, whenever Geshe Langten Thamba here, I think people sometimes come and see, then they bring the gossips, or those people are criticizing you or talking about you having, and he would send, gifts or present to them. Such is the practice. Such is like Bodhisattva practice and Lojong practice. Helping them from mistreating you. Even when they mistreat you, instead of mistreating back, that is how we normally, ordinary will do. But instead, just like previous word, because they feel that this is a great opportunity for them to practice. They are giving them great opportunity to practice, so they feel grateful. And so, he would send a gift like that, And later it found out that, why the mother did. And then after some time, the mother came to pick up the child and say, can I have my child? And again, he didn't say anything. He just gave back the child. And then, it was that the mother, what happened is the mother had a lot of children, and every children she had, it died, And then she went to see one astrologer or lama, and then they said, when the child is born, if it was taken care by one high lama or teachers, due to certain merit or certain karma, the child can survive. So that is why she came and did that. And she explained, and she says she was sorry for how she did and all of that, but that was the reason why she did that. So anyway, so that was what. And even at the time of the Buddha, there were similar situations. There were similar situations. There were 6 teachers at that time, who were jealous of the Buddhas, earlier school of thought teachers, because all the followers now starting to follow Buddhas. They were following them. Now they are starting to follow the Buddhas, new spiritual path, new teachers, and some of them are not so fully enlightened, and so they were trying to destroy Buddha's reputations. So they came with some kind of scam, what do you call? I don't know, the scam is the right word. I don't think schemes. They came with some scheme to, and they took one lady, pay her, and taught her what to do and that, and the story is, Buddha was teachings, and people come to listen and then they will go back home. And when everyone's going back in the evenings, the lady will come and goes to us. So everyone see her coming. Each time when the teachings are finished, teaching coming. And slowly, she even became kind of like almost pregnant, and bigger and bigger. And then one day, in front of Buddha, she accused Buddha, how come you talk about compassion, caring for all sentient beings and that, and you don't care about me, and you don't care about your children? That is, everyone got shocked, and they were waiting Buddha to clarify that, but Buddha didn't say anything. Buddha didn't say anything. Because I'm sure Buddha saw there was something, that it was better him not to clarify or explain than clarify it. I don't know exactly what, in long term, in the bigger pictures, what he saw, but he remained quiet. And then, she wasn't really pregnant, but she was putting something in, inside, So she put, I think, extra every, I don't know, weeks or months. So it seems like, and then he said at that time, a riot or something came and kind of bite, and then that came, what she was wearing, it fall apart. And so everyone saw that she was accusing, and it was not the truth. And so that cleared that. But just the example giving here is, if it was done to like me, or anyone, like ordinary beings, they will be so upset if someone accused such a big thing like that, But that is how true practitioners, and their mind was not disturbed, their mind was not disturbed, their mind was not upset, and so that is anyway. And the next one, when someone whom I have benefited and in whom I have great hope give me a terrible harm, I shall regard the person as my holy guru. So it might be a little bit easy to let it go and forgive someone if you have not done so much for them. Okay? If you haven't done much for them, if you haven't done anything to them, even they kind of mistreat you, maybe, it might be a little bit more easy to forgive, a little bit more easy to let it go. But like if you have done so much for someone, that you have sacrificed your well-being, your own happiness, your own time, and all of that. You did so much for someone, and you never expect them to turn against you and mistreat you. You never in your mind imagine that he or she will actually turn against you for everything you did. And if that he or she turn against you and mistreat you, how much pain, hurt you will feel, and sense of anger and rage, then one can feel, But here again, even in such situations, here the Katamba Master says, even in such situation, we shouldn't be upset, angry, and have negative feelings, thoughts, but instead try to see that as your own spiritual guru, holy guru. Again, because again, they are giving you the opportunity to practice by seeing that. And yeah, and normally I like to give metaphor or example of when you talk about teachers, there can be two kinds of teachers, theoretical teachers and practical teachers. Even in school, there are a lot of studies, they are like that, isn't it? Theoretical teachers will explain in a classroom how to grow, how to cook, whatever, different things, how to fix. And then there will be practical, not theoretical teacher, but practical teacher that will take you in the field and let you do, whether it's cooking, whether it's growing in the garden, or whether it's trying to fix some things. And you learn from, even though you learn from both theoretical teachers and practical teachers, but you learn more from practical teachers. That's where you really become good at that. Whether you are going to be a cook, whether you are being a gardener, or whatever field, Same way, the teacher who explain, how to practice, how to meditate, how to practice is more like theoretical teacher. Okay? They explain you such how do you meditate, how to practice. This person is now, you have learned all these techniques. You have learned all the meditations, everything. Now let's see, put into practice. So such person become real practical teachers. And that is, if you can really learn from that, then that is where you really make progress. And from that perspective, then they are the true, guru. They are true guru because they are the practical teachers, because they take into the field and they make you do it. Because they take you in the field and make you do it. And only through that you can really learn and perfect. And so again, these are incredible way of looking at things, that normally we will think they are our enemy. Normally the way we see this person is my enemy because he or she turned against me, mistreated me. But here, instead of seeing as an enemy, you see as a guru, someone you cherish very much, someone you regard very highly, someone you hold very highly, someone you treat well. So if we can change that, instead of seeing as enemy, if we can see Holy Guru from that perspective, then you don't have to feel all these negative feelings and anger and all of that. Instead, you feel positive appreciations, grateful, thankful. And isn't that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful? You don't have to suffer. And you don't have to create more negative karma. Yourself as well as a negative karma in relation to that with others. And so also, then you don't also feel bad, negative, and you don't act negatively towards them. And then 7.1 is the summarizing of the previous ones. In short, both directly and indirectly, do I offer my happiness and benefit to my mothers, I shall secretly take upon myself all their harmful actions and sufferings. So, directly, whenever we have the opportunity and when we are able, we try to benefit, we try to bring happiness and help others as much as possible. Whenever it's possible, when we are able, we try to reduce and relieve the sufferings of others as much as we can. Directly, reducing and relieving the suffering of others and helping them to improve their happiness and well-beings whenever possible, whenever you are able. Indirectly, then we do the practice of Tonglen, taking and giving. And that is the secretly taking about. So, the practice of Tonglen is, you imagine, visualize, taking of the suffering of others and the cause of suffering on yourself, and then you visualize, you imagine giving all your wealth, your body, your virtues, all the excellent, sending and giving your happiness and the others receiving their happiness. So that is the practice of Tonglen, or taking and giving, which is a very powerful practice to cultivate true loving kindness, compassion, and to increase and improve loving kindness, compassion. So that is one of very powerful practice for that. Mainly to improve your own loving kindness and compassion. And sometimes, due to certain karmic connections, due to the practitioner's sincerity or their level of practice, maybe they might be able to reduce other suffering to certain on certain level, and they might be able to share their happiness to a certain level. It's possible on some level. Many conditions have to come together, depending on the two karmic between the practitioners and others whose suffering they are trying to take and happiness they are trying to give, depending on the individual karma of that person, depending on the practitioner who is doing that, maybe their level of realizations or sensitivity of their practice. So it is possible, but normally it is, in general, it's not easy to take someone suffering on yourself and give your happiness to others in that way. But in very circumstances, with all conditions, is possible sometimes. But the main thing, the main practice of the Tonglen is to improve, is a meditation technique to improve your own loving kindness and compassion. That is the main, and that is what it does. And then lastly, the verse number 8, that's related to the wisdom. Undefiled by the stand of superstitious worldly concern, may I, by perceiving all phenomena as illusory, be released from the boundaries of attachment. So again, even when we try to practice something positive, even when we try to help someone, even when we try to be kind to someone, even when we try to do something for others, sometimes our motivations might not be completely pure, even though there is some level of compassion, but still there might be stain of some kind of worldly concerns. I'm doing that to help that person, at the same time, the person to like you. You are trying to help someone, at the same time, there is certain one side of the mind to impress that person or attract that person, or to wanting the other person to like you, or the other person to do something and all. So there could be sometimes some stain of worldly concerns. And so that is attachment, worldly concern or attachments. And if that happens, then that is not as pure as it can be. And so your practice of generosity, your practice of compassion doesn't become as pure. And so in order to make it more pure without any, contaminations, then, we try to, when we do that, we try to do purely without any expectation, without any conditions, with any of the worldly concerns. And in order to do that, then we should not have the worldly concerns. And in order to overcome the worldly concerns, then we try to meditate on emptiness, by seeing the objects of the object of the attachments, the object of the worldly concerns, how they do not exist inherently or truly from its own side, even though there is appearance of that, even though there is appearance those objects exist from its own side inherently, but in reality, when you analyze, they do not exist inherently. Therefore, they are like illusions. The way they appear and the way they exist do not concord. They are not. There are contradictions between the way thing exists and the way it appears, and so therefore, there are all these phenomena. By seeing them as illusory, like an illusion, like a dream, and so forth, and you give up worldly concerns. And when you don't have worldly concerns, and when you try to do something good for others without worldly concern, then that practice becomes pure. So I think that is, maybe I will just, conclude here. So I don't know whether we have time for questions. I could take one if there is one or two. Then we can do the dedication.
Mark has a question.
Affecting the mind. In the scripture, we talked about doing.
Mm-hmm. I think also it might also sometimes depend on the context, how you use, sometimes it might depend on the context. Generally speaking, protecting your minds mean, with mindfulness and not allowing those negative thoughts or mind to arises, okay? So that there's a possible for my mind to get negative. And so then, by protecting the mind, not allowing through the mindfulness or vigilant, you don't try to allow that mind to arises and protecting your mind from being negative. That is, in general, that will be a kind of protecting, or protecting your mind from this transgressions and so forth. Subduing, training, disciplining, the mind is transforming the mind, changing the mind. Transforming or changing or disciplining or training your mind from means, from being too selfish to less selfish and non-selfish eventually, At the very beginning, we might be very selfish. So through training the mind or disciplining the mind, then we subdue that selfish mind to become less selfish. And with the time, not non-selfish at all, or, subduing or training your mind, from being angry, to less angry and then not have angry. And instead of anger, to cultivate love, compassions, so transforming your mind from being under the influence of anger to not being influenced of anger, and instead, let's say, patience, loving kindness, and compassion, and so forth. So that is what I would say, like subduing the mind means, changing, transforming it through different practice meditations. Yeah. Yeah, we can do the.
Yes, Shala. On behalf of Thubten, on behalf of the Buddhist Center, we would like to offer a Thanksgiving mandala. Coral, Lu, Venerable Ani, Charlene, Shanta. And then I forgot to announce there's a catered lunch after class. So forgive me. And we'll do the verses. Usually we do them twice in Tibetan, but I thought today let's do the first one in Tibetan and the second one in English so we can really feel it.
Mi de Thank you.
I can't hear. Well, we could do it again.
Kuseraten Chenam Kartile Chochuge Padam Losam Embe Dome Sasumgi Owe Mwesetato Yejuruji Itam Gururana Mandalakane Ayami. It's okay, you can just. Okay.
And then everyone will do the dedication prayers, and then please, there'll be a kata lineup. So if you'd like to offer Geshe kata, so thank you. And kata's back there. And envelopes. Okay, so let's recite Shanti Deva's verse dedication, please. Shanti Deva's verse. Should I screen share? Okay, screen share.
Or we can do the normal.
All beings everywhere,
Plagued by the suffering of the body and mind, open in the ocean and happiness and joy by virtues of my merit. May no living creature suffer, even evil or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled, down by the way. May the blind see form and the deaf hear sound. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rains as bountiful harvest. May all medicine be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be free from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Again, thank you very much, everyone. And also, I'd like to thank Geshe Tundu because he was busy, and so we requested him, and so he accepted to come and be here, and being quite distant from, and especially he hasn't been outside for long times. So in a new environment. So again, we had a window of small window opening, and then we just requesting that before he get taken over by someone else. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Geshe.